Hello, welcome to another video. Today is a very special day because my brother is getting married and I've been invited to the wedding. I thought it would be fun if I made my own wedding attire, which is an interesting idea considering I have about this much sewing experience, but we're gonna do it anyway and hopefully it'll turn out good. That means designing and sewing it without a pattern because I don't know how patterns work. So we're gonna wing it to win it and hope that it'll turn out good. Okay, so for my design I had a couple of inspirations. First and foremost is this dress, and I love it. I've just never worn it because it's a bit too scandalous and a bit too small at the same time. But I've loved this fabric always, and so I've always wanted to kind of remake it into something that I can wear, basically. And then also, I have this skirt which twirls like no other skirt I've ever seen. So I've wondered, what if I made this dress but with this skirt? I would love to see that. But then, I had a third inspiration, which is this shirt, and I love the handkerchief sleeves on this shirt. So that fueled my vision for what I'm going to make today. What happens when you combine this dress with this skirt with this shirt? Stay tuned and we'll find out. I'm gonna find out. We found this fabric, which is exactly the same as this, just a different color, always stretch. And it has that nice two-tone kind of effect. So this is what we're using for fabric. So first thing I did to get started was I took my example garment that I was kind of using as a guide, and I just folded in the sleeves and found where the seams are, and I traced that general shape onto my fabric, just a little bit bigger since the original was a bit too small. Then for the crossover part of the front, I just kind of eyeballed it and drew a line from the shoulder down to where the bottom is. When I was done my sketch, I draped it on myself to try and evaluate if it was going to be big enough, and it seemed to be big enough, so I cut out that shape. However, when I took it again to drape it on myself, it was a bit too small, so I just laid it down on the fabric again and traced around where it needed to be bigger, and then I just cut out that shape. Just a little side note, if you're going to be listening to music while doing a sewing project, I don't recommend listening to Mozart. I did, and I just got way too distracted. It was a little too good, and then I wasn't able to finish my project as quickly. So just a little tip if you are doing a sewing project. Once I had successfully cut out a shape that would fit, I traced around that to make my second front crossover piece and cut it out. And once I had them both cut out, I laid them together and traced around both of them to make my back piece shape thing. And now it's bobbin threading time, and I got this beautiful thread which matches perfectly. I just wanted to show that off because I was proud of my choice. But now it's time to start sewing.
Now that the machine is threaded and ready to go, I took my back piece and just hemmed that neckline, and it didn't turn out very good, honestly. As you can see, it kind of slipped out a bit. It's not great, but I pressed it and went with it. And now please enjoy some accordion music from my mother. Wasn't that lovely? And now the front crossover pieces are hemmed. They look so good. And then followed by press. Okay, both sides are pressed and sewn for the crossover part. Now we just need to sew those together and to the back. Trying it on and making sure it's gonna fit. Actually looking too low. I can kind of try and figure out my darts from there because we need to do the darts before the side seam. So I can't figure out where to place my darts. So I'm just gonna, I might just do like kind of a bit of a loose basting stitch for the sides. So I'm just gonna pretend we don't need any, and maybe we don't even. Just gonna stitch up the sides. I don't know what I'm doing, so it's hard to explain. I've sewed up the sides here. Just kind of figuring out what needs to happen now to get it more form-fitting. Pinned on the sides here, kind of how much I want to take in off the sides. So then the back won't be as loose and front won't be either. So to take in the sides, I just chalked in that line between the two pins that I used to mark. And then I just sewed along that line, and I did that to the shoulders too, actually. And then I just cut off the excess. And now I'm making handkerchief sleeves. So I cut out two 16 by 16 inch squares and hemmed all the way around them. Then I needed to find the exact middle, so I just folded it in half and then into quarters and marked the very middle with a pin. So what I'm going to do is, you can just fold it into quarters and then just snip away like a kind of half circle thing. But I want to do it slightly off center so that it kind of ends up sitting how I want it to. So I've just cut out a little tiny half circle here. This is what I cut off, and this is essentially the sleeve hole, the shape of the sleeve hole. And obviously that's too small, so I'm going to cut away more. We want this shape, the cutout shape, to be roughly, the same size as this. After that, they were pinned to the top. It was pinned to the sleeves were pinned to the top, right sides together, with the skinnier part down by the armpit area. Alright, so the sleeves are on. It's looking good. Look at this. Oh, they're so good. I love this. So to figure out how to replicate the skirt for my dress, I've just laid it out here, and I'm observing the pieces that make it up. So it's like these little kind of 4 house shapes. So now I know what shape to make my skirt pieces in order to replicate this skirt. So the skirt was made up of 4 pieces, so I measured my waist and divided that number into 4, and then used that number as a 1/4 of the top portion of the skirt where it goes around the waist. Okay, I've got my first skirt piece out of 4. I just need to cut out 3 more. So here are the 4 skirt pieces I cut out. They're kind of like little house shapes. And of course I hemmed around all the bottom and side edges of this. And you can kind of see how I'm attaching them together so that waist measurement is kind of evenly divided around where it attaches to the top. I don't know if this makes any sense, but I pressed all the seams open, of course. And then I had to attach the top to the skirt, which I didn't record because it was frustrating and I didn't know what I was doing, and it didn't turn out that good, honestly. But then I just started making the belt, which kind of covers up my bad
attachment job anyway.
So I've turned this whole thing inside out, and then I've just kind of sewed this little point part, but I've left a little hole so I could pull it out again. And then I'm just gonna kind of try and peel in the ends a little bit, and then just sew that part shut like that. Alright, so now that little part is sewn shut from the outside on the point. Now I'm just gonna press this all down so it's nice and flat, and then it'll be done.
So that's the finished product, and I'm so pleased with how it turned out, exactly like my vision pretty much, so twirly and so shiny. Oh, and I wore it to my brother's wedding, and I got a couple compliments. But that's it, so like and subscribe if you want to, maybe leave a comment. Thank you, bye!